So it's getting late, and I'm sure my neighbors are going to be happy when I'm down here yelling into my microphone about another fucking feminist. Scribe Light did a video on this one, and that's where I got the idea. This is Shannon Downey, also known as the Badass Cross Stitch, or Badass Cross Bitch, whatever. Apparently she's like in the crocheting and whatever. Oh, she's a craftivist. A craftivist. Oh, and the frightening thing about this is this woman is probably in her mid-30s, I would guess, maybe near 40. And she looks like any ordinary person. A mom, maybe, or a working mother, or a working woman, you know, just somebody you'd see walking down the, you know, the road or jogging or something. There's no crazy hair, there's no nose rings, there's no face tattoos or any of the other telltale signs of the vicious cunt that lives within this bobbed-haired chick. And she's nice, and she's pleasant, soft-spoken. She's actually pretty attractive, very nice figure and all this stuff. But yet there's poison in this one, boys. There's a lot of poison. Let's listen in on her TEDx talk.
Thank you. So, I'm white.
Really?
And I live in a world where I benefit from white privilege.
Okay, so she's got white privilege, people. Are you aware? She's got it. She's full of that white privilege.
And if you're white, you benefit from white privilege as well.
Yeah, I wish you'd just come up with, you know, like a list of things that would sort of solidify your argument here. Here are the privileges white people have. I would like to see that list, Shannon.
But if you identify as a woman, you also live in a world where you're oppressed.
Oh my God. How do these people get up in the morning and brush their own teeth? How is this even possible?
And there's a strange dichotomy in being both oppressed and the oppressor.
You're neither, but there's no dichotomy. That's a fantasy that lives in your own little hamster brain, isn't it?
Okay, I know that's a little rough start there, but I feel like this slide might be a little disingenuous.
I put the fun in uncomfortable. See what I did there? Oh, that's just so fancy.
But I think as humans, we spend an inordinate amount of time and energy trying to avoid discomfort in all of its forms.
You know, the interesting part about feminism is the entire movement has been based on removing the discomfort of women. And when I say discomfort, I mean consequences for your actions and your choices in life. Even if you make a choice to do something, it's somehow someone else's fault. And feminism has been very, very successful getting these sort of pussy passes codified into law. Oh my God.
But discomfort has so much to teach us.
Yeah, it does.
It holds within it growth, understanding, adaptability, empathy, resilience.
Fortunately for feminism, they've removed all of that. So I guess you indeed are a little child in an adult body, since you've had no consequences for your...
Discomfort is powerful.
Ah, yeah.
Take for an example an experience I had in a grocery store.
I'm quite certain this entire story is absolutely true.
I'm standing in line, waiting to check out. The cashier is like a young black woman, probably 16.
Why'd you have to mention she's a black woman? Oh, that's right, because you're white, and obviously this other woman you're going to talk about is being racist.
The white woman in front of me has like a ton of produce, and the cashier's doing her best to remember all the produce codes. But
yeah, have you looked at a grocery store? There's a lot of stuff there. I have no fucking idea what it is. There's some lettuce leaves and shit back there. It's like, what, is that kohlrabi or Swiss chard or something? I don't know.
She's new. It's taken a long time.
And she's 16, as if she gives a fuck about her career as a checkout woman. She spends her evenings studying vegetables just so she doesn't inconvenience you white women's.
The woman in front of me is getting impatient. You know how I know?
Tell me, how do you know?
She starts to do that like exaggerated sigh thing.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Oh my God. This allegedly happened 20 years ago, so you were both late teens. A surprise that a late teenaged woman is impatient. Who could have ever guessed that, people? Obviously, it's racism.
And when that doesn't somehow magically make this young cashier move faster...
It's not that she wasn't moving fast enough. She didn't know what the fuck it was. This happens to me all the freaking time.
She levels up and she starts like shifting her weight while she sighs.
Yeah, she's being a bitch. Welcome to white feminism.
And I'm standing there thinking like, all right, lady, relax, she's new. But I don't say anything. Then the cashier holds up a vegetable and she asks, can you tell me what this is called?
That happens to me all the time. Excuse me, what was the price of this? Is this the chard, or is this the Napa cabbage, or the Chinese cabbage, whatever? Yeah, this is normal. This is not a fucking problem.
My heart drops because I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm in my head and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to intervene.
Why do you think you would know exactly what was going to happen? Because you were both 17-year-old cunts, right?
But I'm too slow and she starts. It's a leek. How do you not know what a leek is?
She's a 16-year-old checkout woman at a grocery store. What the fuck do you want?
Doesn't your mother feed you vegetables?
Just some collard greens there, and them chitlins and shit, and watermelon. I mean, come on. Really?
And it's slow motion. My mouth opens, and I have no idea what's going to come out.
Probably a bunch of bullshit.
Just in that moment, she turns to me,
yeah.
And she says, can you believe this? She doesn't know what a leek is.
Some people don't. She's 16 years old. What the fuck do you want?
I look around trying to figure out who the hell she's talking to, because it can't be me.
Yeah.
And I realize in that moment that she sees me, a similarly aged white woman buying produce in a grocery store, and she sees an ally.
Similarly aged white woman in a grocery store. Got that yet?
And I'm pissed.
Are you? Why do you treat people like that then today? Didn't you learn anything?
And I have no idea what I'm going to say, but the best I can come up with in the moment is, what is up with your feminism?
What is up with your buying leeks in a grocery store and some chick? It's so unusual for 17-year-old women to get impatient. She gets pissed off at the black girl because she didn't know what a fucking leek was.
You are being such a shitty human right now, and you're ruining leeks for everyone.
Yeah. I think that was supposed to be funny. Let me give a golf clap. There we go.
Admittedly, not my best work.
I'm sure it has gotten a lot better, hasn't it? Oh, yeah.
But that moment happened over 20 years ago, and I remember it like it was yesterday because it was such a transformative moment for me, and it changed everything I thought I knew about feminism and allyship.
You're saying the woman buying the leeks wasn't a real feminist. Is that what you're going to tell us?
Unlearning the problematic thinking that we've been taught as a result of living both with white privilege and without gender equality.
She looks like a normal human being, a normal woman, somewhat attractive, somebody you just say, hey, what's up? Without gender equality. Oh my God, how deep does the rabbit hole go, people?
Is, I would argue, the single biggest contribution that we can make to the resistance. We all carry around things that we need to unlearn as a result of our upbringing.
Well, I'm sorry that your family brought you up in a poor way. Don't speak for everybody. Do you get my point?
The blinders have to come off. And it's going to suck at first. At first, all you can see is everything that's wrong and all the injustice. And
you know why that is? Is because you look for it. You seek it out. And even when it's not there, you find it.
Everything you were taught not to see. And suddenly the racist and classist undertones of an impatient woman in a grocery store are blindingly visible.
I grew up in the 60s, unlike you. You were probably born, 20, 30 years ago, 35 years ago. My parents taught me one thing. Doesn't matter what color you are. Doesn't matter what sex you are. Doesn't matter what nationality you are, or if you're Jewish or Christian or Muslim, whatever. Everybody is to be treated the same and with respect. What the fuck happened?
It's a painful process, but the only way to change it is to see it and see how we fit into it. If you look at the history of women's liberation movements in the US, you're going to see a long history of white supremacy.
Now, I agree with you here. I do agree with you. There was a lot of racism back in the early days. But let's be honest, 150 years ago, we still had slavery. Black people, even after slavery, were treated like shit in this country until the early 1960s. And even then, After the civil rights movements and everything, black people were still treated like garbage.
White women have not just excluded women of color and queer women from liberation movements, they have actively worked to oppress them in their quest for straight white liberation and access.
The interesting thing, though, is we don't live in 1919. We don't live in 1850. We live in 2019 current year. Why don't you point out a few things that are applicable today?
From the suffrage movement to the civil rights movement, it's natural to feel passionately about confronting your own oppression because it's comfortable.
Here she is, a white, somewhat attractive woman in the Western world in 2019, the most privileged human being to ever live on this earth in the history of mankind. And she still believes she's oppressed. I gotta have another beer, man.
You see it, you live it, you experience it. You're an authority on your lived experience.
You have not been oppressed once in your entire life. Stop the bullshit.
It's deeply uncomfortable to confront our role as oppressors or the beneficiaries of oppressive systems.
Both the oppressor and the victim. I guess they really want it all, don't they?
Side note, I would argue this is why so many men have trouble calling themselves feminists.
No. It's because feminism is a movement no longer needed, and it's toxic. And essentially, it's a front for socialism. And we all know where socialism leads. No, thank you.
Things are great in the white feminist world when we're talking about our shared oppression as women. But
when you're sitting around bitching about stuff that doesn't actually happen, that's where you get comrades.
Things tend to go south when other oppressions are brought up. And that, my friends, is white feminist thinking, and it's problematic.
Yeah, it is. The entire movement is problematic, not just white women.
52% of white women voted for Trump.
48% of women voted for a woman who was married to a sexual assaulter. Is that a word? Sexual assaulter? With the definition of sexual assault as it is today, Bill Clinton sexually assaulted Monica Lewinsky because of his position of power. So 48% of you evidently support this.
The man who prior to the election bragged about sexually assaulting women.
Bill Clinton, under the current definition, sexually assaulted a real human being in the Oval Office. But 48% of you voted for his wifey.
52% of white women voted for a sexual predator.
48% of women voted for the wife of a man who sexually assaulted a woman in the Oval Office in the White House when he was president. Which is worse, saying something or actually doing it? Shannon.
Over a wildly qualified woman.
The fact that 52% of white women voted for Trump gives me hope for the future.
That is some uncomfortable shit right there.
How do you mix up Me Too and make Bill Clinton come out as, oh, he was a victim or something? How does that happen? What kind of brain hamster do you have, Shannon?
Patriarchy has trained us well.
See, if it's a Republican, it's rape. Even if it isn't. If it's a Democrat, it's just sex. It's his business.
After the election, I went to the Women's March in Chicago.
Wow.
And my hope was restored.
And she's carrying a sign that says this. And it's, the unique part about these signs is they're just so grassroots when they're actually just printed. You think they could mix up the font a little bit just to kind of make it look like it's a grassroots thing? Oh no, I'm so angry. I stitched this just so I could stab something 3,000 times. Isn't that rather violent of you, Shannon?
Right? That was a good one. Thank you.
See, you're guilty of violence. You didn't hurt anybody. You just said you were going to hurt somebody. So you're guilty, just like Trump, right?
I was inspired. I was heartened to see a tidal wave of resistance by women. And then the rise of Me Too, and I thought, oh my God, this is it, the fall of the patriarchy.
Boys will be boys held accountable for their fucking actions. Let me edit that for you, Shannon. Boys will be boys held accountable for things they didn't fucking do because some woman said they did.
I believe that this is our moment, that this is the moment when feminism will triumph.
Could you tell us what that would look like? if you wouldn't mind.
It has to look and feel different than it has in the past, and that requires that white feminists get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Like I said earlier, that's the whole goal of feminism, is to make women not feel uncomfortable, no matter what.
So where do we start? Clearly, I think the first step is just embracing discomfort.
And here's a bunch of woo. You can watch the rest of it. It's just, this looks like an average, normal person. But yet the toxicity, the hatred within this person is clear. James Maxwell, thank you for listening.